Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks ordinary, yet carries a story that could connect you to history, to collectors, and maybe even to a small fortune. Among the countless pennies minted in the United States, there's one that stands out quietly but powerfully: the 1970 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it may seem like any other coin in your pocket, but for collectors and history enthusiasts, this humble 1-cent piece is a fascinating treasure. The 1970 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. These pennies are instantly recognizable, featuring the portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, a design created by Victor David Brenner. By 1970, the Lincoln penny had been in circulation for over 6 decades, and while many coins looked nearly identical, subtle differences in mint marks, strikes, and metal composition began to make certain years particularly noteworthy. The 1970 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, carries the D mint mark and represents a fascinating period in U.S. coinage history. The year 1970 was a time of transition and subtle changes for the Lincoln cent. The United States economy was experiencing inflation, and copper prices were steadily rising. Most pennies of this era were still primarily made of a copper alloy, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition gave the coins a warm, reddish tone that many collectors find appealing today. Unlike the steel pennies of 1943, the 1970 D cent retained a familiar weight and feel, but what makes it particularly intriguing is not just its metal, but the small variations and errors that occasionally occurred during production. Every coin has its unique characteristics, and the 1970 D Lincoln penny is no exception. The obverse features Lincoln's profile, his thoughtful gaze captured in intricate detail, with the words "In God We Trust" arched above his head. Below the portrait, the date 1970 is stamped, with the small d indicating it was minted in Denver. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is displayed, flanked by the words United States of America and E pluribus unum. What makes some 1970 D pennies stand out are subtle variations that can dramatically affect their value. Some coins show double dies, slight off-center strikes, or even unusual color variations caused by differences in how the metal aged over time. These anomalies are rare, but when they appear, collectors pay attention. The rarity of the 1970 D penny doesn't stem from a small mintage, millions were produced, but rather from the errors and exceptional condition specimens that survive today. Most coins from 1970 show signs of circulation, with scratches, worn edges, and dulled details. Finding one in uncirculated condition is increasingly difficult, and discovering a 1970 D with a unique minting error is even rarer. This combination of scarcity and subtle uniqueness is what drives collector interest and potential value. Coins that are perfectly preserved, with clear details and striking color, can command a premium in the numismatic market. Collectors and auction records offer a fascinating glimpse into just how valuable certain 1970 D pennies can be. While an average circulated coin might only be worth a few cents above face value, pristine examples graded by professional services can reach tens or even hundreds of dollars. In rare cases, pennies with confirmed errors, such as double dies or unusual metal discoloration, have sold for significantly more. For example, a 1970 D Lincoln cent with a noticeable double die on the obverse sold in a recent auction for several $100s, astonishing casual collectors who never realized a penny could be worth that much. These sales highlight the excitement and unpredictability of coin collecting. For those intrigued by the 1970 D penny, knowing how to identify a real coin versus a counterfeit or altered piece is essential. Genuine coins from this era have precise dimensions: 19.05 millimeters in diameter and 2.5 grams in weight. The mint mark should be small but sharply defined, with no signs of tampering. Some unscrupulous sellers might attempt to add a D to a 1970 penny originally minted elsewhere, or artificially color the coin to make it appear rare. Comparing the coin to a verified example, examining it under magnification, and consulting professional grading services are all ways to ensure authenticity. Careful inspection often reveals subtle clues: the uniformity of the strike, the sharpness of Lincoln's features, and the texture of the metal. Beyond their monetary value, 1970 Lincoln pennies carry fascinating stories and little-known details that make them more than just currency. For instance, some coins from that year exhibit what collectors call red or brown coloration, depending on how the copper oxidized over decades. This natural patina can dramatically affect a coin's desirability, with deep red coins often fetching higher prices. Another interesting aspect is the preservation of details in uncirculated coins. Lincoln's coat, the folds in his collar, and even the tiny lines in the Lincoln Memorial are crisp and precise, giving these pennies a visual appeal that casual observers might overlook. Collectors love discovering these subtle differences, knowing that each coin tells a slightly different story. The appeal of the 1970 Lincoln penny extends beyond rarity and potential financial gain. It represents a tangible connection to history, a link to an era when coins were meticulously crafted and widely circulated. For collectors, there's an emotional satisfaction in finding a well-preserved example, knowing it survived decades of handling and changing economies. Some enthusiasts enjoy the challenge of locating minting errors, while others appreciate the aesthetic beauty of a coin in pristine condition. Owning a 1970 penny is a way of holding a piece of Americana, a reminder of the design choices, metal compositions, and historical moments that shaped everyday life in the United States. Even small details can inspire curiosity. Did you know that the 1970 penny was part of a brief period when the U.S. Mint experimented with sharper die designs to improve the quality of Lincoln's portrait? Or that some coins from Denver in this era were struck slightly differently, resulting in minor variations in how Lincoln's features appear? These are the types of subtle, almost invisible differences that excite coin collectors and fuel long-term interest. The more you look at a coin, the more you can appreciate the tiny imperfections that make each piece unique. Today, collectors continue to seek out the 1970 Lincoln penny for both its historical significance and its potential value. Whether it's a flawless uncirculated coin or one with a rare error, this penny embodies the thrill of coin collecting. The blend of history, artistry, scarcity, and the possibility that something ordinary could be extraordinary. Each coin carries a story, and for those who enjoy exploring the past, even a single penny can become a doorway into a fascinating world of discovery. Holding one in your hand, you might wonder about the countless transactions it witnessed, the pockets it passed through, and the collectors who would one day recognize its subtle beauty. So, the next time you come across a seemingly ordinary penny, remember that hidden among the millions minted each year, there could be a 1970 Lincoln penny quietly waiting to surprise someone. Perhaps it's sitting in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten collection, just waiting for someone curious enough to recognize its history, its craftsmanship, and its unique place in the story of American coinage. That simple, humble coin reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry extraordinary tales. And who knows, the penny in your hand today could be tomorrow's treasure, waiting to be discovered. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in the palm of your hand. A coin so ordinary at first glance, yet it carries a story that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1964 Mint Mark Lincoln penny. It's a coin that's been overlooked by many, but for collectors, it's a treasure waiting to be discovered. If you've ever wondered which pennies could hide surprising value, this story might just change the way you look at your spare change. The 1964 Mint Mark Lincoln penny is an ordinary 1-cent coin in one sense. It was made for everyday use. But it's also part of a long and fascinating legacy. Abraham Lincoln has appeared on the penny since 1909, commemorating the centennial of his birth. By 1964, the Lincoln penny was well established, familiar to every American, and made from copper. The Mint mark tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the main facilities producing coins for circulation in the United States. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. The year 1964 was a significant one in American history, and the penny reflects that era. In 1964, the United States was deep into a time of social and cultural change. The Civil Rights Act was passed, the Beatles were about to take America by storm, and a new sense of optimism and turbulence coexisted. Yet, Among all of that, the Lincoln penny quietly rolled off the presses in Denver, destined to be tucked away in pockets, wallets, and jars across the country. What makes the 1964 D penny interesting isn't just its age. By this time, the United States was still using a largely copper composition for pennies, 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was just before rising copper prices would push the mint toward experimenting with different metals in later years. The coin's design is elegant in its simplicity. Lincoln's profile is detailed and recognizable, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is finely engraved, complete with tiny details like the statue inside, which is only visible under magnification. Collectors look for more than just a date and a mint mark. Small variations, minting errors, or exceptional condition can dramatically affect a coin's value. In 1964, a few interesting things happened with the Denver pennies. Some coins show double die errors, a phenomenon where the coin appears to have a slight doubling in the design, most often visible on the lettering of Liberty or the date itself. Other coins may have tiny die cracks or variations in the copper's color due to striking inconsistencies. These subtle differences can make a common penny extraordinarily collectible. Why is the 1964 D Lincoln penny considered rare in some cases? The truth is, most 1964 pennies were minted in enormous quantities, billions, in fact. But it's the rare errors or coins that were never circulated and remained in perfect condition that collectors prize. Uncirculated coins, especially those graded highly by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for hundreds of dollars, while error coins can fetch even more, depending on their uniqueness and the interest among collectors. To give you an idea, a standard circulated 1964 D penny might only be worth its face value, a single cent. But a 1964 D penny in uncirculated condition, graded MS 65 or higher, can sell for $50 to $200 or more. Double die error coins from this year have been auctioned for several $100s, sometimes even reaching above $1,000 if the condition is exceptional and the doubling is dramatic. Every coin has a story, and these auction records remind collectors that what seems like ordinary change can be a hidden treasure. If you're looking to identify a real 1964 D Lincoln penny, start with the basics. Check the date and the mint mark, a small D just below the date on the obverse side. Examine the coin's surface carefully. Authentic coins will show uniform wear if circulated, or a sharp, detailed finish if uncirculated. Double die errors will appear as a subtle doubling of letters or numbers, especially under magnification. Be wary of fakes. Replicas or altered coins are sometimes sold online. Professional grading services are the safest way to confirm authenticity and condition, ensuring that your coin is what it claims to be. There are also a few fun facts about the 1964 D penny that make it a collector favorite. For example, 1964 was the last year before the U.S. Mint drastically increased production of pennies due to rising coin demand in the mid-1960s. That means many coins were buried in circulation, making pristine examples rarer over time. Additionally, some coins from Denver were struck on slightly off-center dies, creating a quirky and collectible variation. And while most people might overlook the penny, in its tiny design lies a piece of American artistry and history, capturing the look of Abraham Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial in exquisite detail. Collectors love the 1964 D Lincoln penny today because it combines historical significance with accessibility. It's a coin that almost anyone can start collecting, yet the possibilities for rare finds and high-grade examples make it endlessly intriguing. The Lincoln penny is part of a narrative that stretches from 1909 to the present, connecting generations through a simple piece of copper. For collectors, holding a 1964 D penny is like holding a small fragment of 1960s America, a tangible link to the past that can also carry real monetary value. Even decades after its release, the 1964 D Lincoln penny continues to captivate collectors and casual enthusiasts alike. It teaches us to look closer at what seems ordinary, to appreciate the craftsmanship in everyday objects, and to remember that even a humble penny can tell a larger story about history, society, and art. So, the next time you stumble across a penny in your pocket or your drawer, take a closer look. Could it be a 1964 D Lincoln penny with a hidden twist? A coin that connects you to the past and might even hold a surprising value? You never know. Sometimes, history is hiding in the palm of your hand, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And as we leave this story behind, remember this. For every common coin in circulation, there's always the possibility of a rare gem, a subtle error, or an uncirculated treasure. The 1964 D. Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that even the smallest objects can hold the biggest stories. So, keep your eyes open, treasure what you find, and maybe one day, that ordinary penny might just change the way you see your pocket change forever. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that's more than just money. A coin that whispers stories of history, of decisions made decades ago, and of a nation in transition. One small piece of copper can carry immense value, not just in dollars, but in fascination. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most intriguing pennies of modern American history, the 1968 D. Mint Mark Lincoln penny. What makes this ordinary-looking penny extraordinary? Let's find out. The 1968 D. Lincoln penny is part of the series of 1-cent coins honoring Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of his birth. By 1968, the Lincoln penny had been circulating for nearly 6 decades, evolving slightly in design but always maintaining Lincoln's familiar portrait on the front and the wheat stalks on the back until 1958, after which the reverse featured the Lincoln Memorial. The D mark indicates it was minted at the Denver Mint, one of the 2 primary production facilities at the time, the other being Philadelphia, which produced coins with no mint mark. 1968 was a pivotal year in American history. The nation was in the midst of social change, political upheaval, and economic challenges. Yet, for coin collectors, it was a quieter moment in the story of the penny. The coin itself was composed of a copper-based alloy, 95% copper, with the remaining 5% primarily zinc. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary penny, but among collectors, it has a special place. The design of the 1968 D. Lincoln penny was consistent with other Lincoln Memorial pennies minted from 1959 through 2008. On the obverse, you have the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1968. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of American perseverance and unity, with the words "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" above. While the design may appear standard, subtle details make certain 1968 D pennies unique, especially for those trained to spot mint errors or unusual strikes. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1968 D penny is its potential for errors and varieties, which is a key reason collectors value it. While mass-produced coins are usually uniform, mistakes can and do occur. Some 1968 D pennies exhibit double dies, where the inscriptions or dates appear slightly doubled. Others may show off-center strikes, or weak minting that causes certain details to appear faint. While these errors are rare, they can dramatically increase a coin's value in the collector's market. So, why is the 1968 D penny notable among collectors? For the average person, a penny from 1968 might seem like just another coin from a long line of similar pennies. But for collectors, small details matter immensely. The coin's mint mark, the precision of the strike, and the condition all contribute to its appeal. High-grade examples, especially those with error varieties or exceptionally sharp details, are much sought after. A coin that looks ordinary in your pocket may, in fact, hold a hidden value far beyond its face worth. To illustrate, some 1968 D pennies have been sold in auctions for prices far exceeding $1. For example, high-grade specimens graded as MS-65 or higher by professional coin grading services can fetch several $100s. Even more intriguing, rare error coins from this year, such as those with double dies or unusual planchet anomalies, have sold for over $1,000. These numbers might seem astonishing when you remember that the coin originally cost just 1 cent, yet decades of careful collecting and the laws of rarity have transformed its potential value. Identifying a genuine 1968 D. Lincoln penny is not overly complicated, but it requires attention to detail. Start by examining the mint mark. A clear D under the date indicates Denver. Next, check the coin's weight and metal composition. Authentic pennies from this era have the standard 95% copper alloy. Look closely at the date and lettering. Sharp, clear details are a good sign, while inconsistencies could indicate wear, damage, or even counterfeiting. For error varieties, consult reputable guides or certified grading services. Mistakes are often subtle, and expert evaluation can make a huge difference in assessing value. Here's a surprising fact. The 1968 D penny was minted during a period when coin shortages were common. The demand for small change, combined with rising copper prices, meant the U.S. Mint had to carefully manage production. These economic pressures occasionally contributed to anomalies in minting, making some coins from this year more prone to errors than others. So, what may seem like an ordinary penny could actually be a product of unique circumstances in American history. Collectors also appreciate the 1968 D penny because it represents a tangible link to the past. Holding a coin from this year is like holding a piece of 1968 itself. It's a reminder of a turbulent yet transformative time in the United States, of streets filled with protesters and headlines about civil rights, of a nation looking toward the future. The Lincoln penny, steadfast and familiar, silently carried on through it all, connecting generations. Fun details make the 1968 D penny even more captivating. For instance, coins from this period can show subtle differences in the relief of Lincoln's bust, or the precise spacing of the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Certain coins exhibit what collectors call proof-like surfaces, even though they were not officially proof coins, giving them a mirror-like finish that catches the eye. These small variations make the hobby of collecting not just about monetary value, but about curiosity, observation, and appreciation for craftsmanship. Collectors love this coin today for its accessibility and potential. Unlike some rarer pennies from the early 20th century, 1968 D pennies are easier to find, yet still offer the thrill of discovery. Finding an error coin or a high-grade specimen can feel like uncovering a hidden treasure. Even those new to coin collecting can quickly learn to recognize subtle differences that set a valuable coin apart from an ordinary one. The coin's history, design, and the occasional striking anomaly make it a perennial favorite among collectors of all levels. And here's something to leave you thinking. Every penny you might find in your change today has a story, but not every penny is created equal. That little 1968 D Lincoln penny in your pocket could be worth more than you imagine, or it could carry a unique story of a moment in history that few remember. Each one is a tiny time capsule, a glimpse of the United States in 1968, and a reminder that sometimes value lies not in size, but in history, rarity, and curiosity. So next time you pick up a penny, look closely. The date, the mint mark, the faint details, they all matter. You might just be holding a coin that's more than change. It could be a piece of history, a collector's dream, or a gateway to discovering the fascinating world of American numismatics. The 1968 D Lincoln penny may appear ordinary, but for those who look closer, it tells a story that continues to captivate collectors, historians, and anyone who appreciates the beauty hidden in something as small as a coin. In the end, the 1968 D Lincoln penny is a reminder that the past is never truly gone. It sits quietly in wallets, drawers, and coin albums, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And who knows, that simple penny might just be the key to uncovering a treasure, or at the very least, a moment of wonder at how much history can fit into something so small. Every coin has a story. What story will your pennies tell? Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in the palm of your hand. A small copper penny that could be worth far more than its face value. What if I told you that a coin from 1975, bearing just a simple D mint mark, could spark excitement among collectors and even sell for hundreds of dollars if it's in the right condition? Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1975 D Lincoln penny, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but hides a fascinating tale for anyone willing to look closely. The 1975 D Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of 1-cent coins featuring Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. For decades, the Lincoln cent has been one of the most widely recognized coins in America, with its unmistakable design, the profile of Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse starting in 1959. While millions of pennies were minted each year, certain issues and mint marks have earned special attention among collectors, and 1975 is one of those intriguing years. The 1975 D penny was produced at the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D located just below the date on the coin's obverse. That year, the United States was in the midst of an economic transition. Inflation was rising, and coin production was adapting to increased demand for everyday currency. Yet, despite the millions of pennies struck in Denver, a few factors make some examples from that year particularly interesting to collectors. Visually, the 1975 D penny looks much like the pennies you may have seen in your pocket or coin jar. It features Lincoln facing right on the front, with the word Liberty to the left, and the date 1975 right above the mint mark. The reverse, as usual, depicts the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in place since 1959. The coin is made primarily of a copper alloy, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition typical of pennies minted before 1982. This composition gives the coin its characteristic reddish-brown color, though circulation often dulls it over time. But what makes certain 1975 D pennies stand out isn't the design itself. It's the subtle variations and errors that occurred during the minting process. In some cases, pennies from this year can show double dies, a minting error where the letters or numbers appear slightly doubled due to misalignment during production. Other collectors keep an eye out for off-center strikes, weakly struck coins, or planchet flaws, all of which are rare and can dramatically increase a coin's value. Even small details, like the sharpness of Lincoln's features or the depth of the lettering, can make one coin more desirable than another. So, why is the 1975 D penny rare or valuable? For the average coin in circulated condition, it may only be worth a few cents above face value. However, uncirculated coins, particularly those graded at mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services, can command a premium among collectors. The scarcity of high-grade specimens comes from the fact that millions of these coins were spent in everyday transactions, often showing wear or damage that reduces their collector appeal. A pristine 1975 D penny with all details crisp and surfaces clean is increasingly hard to find, and that scarcity drives its market value. To put this into perspective, some recent auction sales of 1975 D pennies in exceptional condition have reached anywhere from $50 to over $200. Coins with known errors, such as double dies, can fetch even higher prices, sometimes approaching $500 or more depending on rarity and demand. Collectors often seek coins that are certified by professional grading services, which guarantees authenticity and condition, making these auctions more competitive and often surprising even seasoned numismatists. Identifying a genuine 1975 D penny is relatively straightforward, but there are a few pitfalls to watch for. First, the D mint mark must appear clearly below the date. The copper composition and weight are also key indicators. A genuine penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. Counterfeit or altered coins may have incorrect metal content or unusual color. Collectors also examine fine details like Lincoln's hair, the curvature of the date, and the spacing of the letters on the reverse. Even small inconsistencies can indicate a coin has been tampered with or is a replica. For serious collectors, investing in a magnifying glass or loupe and consulting professional guides or grading services is the safest way to ensure authenticity. Beyond value and verification, the 1975 D penny carries some interesting stories. As part of the broader Lincoln cent narrative, reflecting decades of American history. By 1975, the United States had experienced the social and political upheavals of the 1960s and early 70s. The penny, quietly circulating in millions of wallets and cash registers, was a symbol of stability, a reminder of Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy during a time of change. Collectors sometimes note how coins like these connect them to ordinary daily life of past decades, long before the digital economy transformed the way we use money. There are also quirky facts that make the 1975 D penny memorable. For example, despite the millions minted, only a fraction survive in uncirculated condition. Many pennies of this era were hoarded briefly, only to be released later into circulation, leading to subtle variations in wear patterns. Some coins show unique toning or coloration due to environmental exposure, giving each piece its own story. These tiny details, often invisible to the casual observer, are exactly what make coin collecting a fascinating pursuit. Collectors love the 1975 D Lincoln penny today not just for its potential monetary value, but for its historical and aesthetic appeal. It's a coin that can spark curiosity in a new collector or nostalgia in someone who grew up using these pennies daily. The thrill of discovering a high-grade specimen, or spotting a rare error in a jar of coins, offers a sense of connection to the past that few other collectibles provide. Each coin tells a story, not just of Abraham Lincoln, but of the everyday Americans who used it, saved it, and passed it down through generations. Even if you aren't a seasoned collector, finding a 1975 D penny in excellent condition can be a small, exciting reminder that history is all around us. Next time you reach into your pocket or sift through a coin jar, pay attention to the little details, the mint mark, the date, the sharpness of the design. You might be holding more than just a penny. You could be holding a piece of history, a potential treasure, and a connection to countless stories from nearly 50 years ago. The 1975 D Lincoln penny may seem ordinary at first, but for those who know where to look, it opens a window into the past, a glimpse of meticulous craftsmanship, and even the possibility of financial reward. Could the next coin you find be one of those rare examples that excites collectors worldwide? Only a careful eye and a little curiosity will tell. History, rarity, and the thrill of discovery are all wrapped up in a coin that fits in your hand. And in that small, seemingly simple 1975 D penny, there is a story waiting for you to uncover. Imagine holding a small piece of history in the palm of your hand, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but carries a story that stretches back over 40 years. Among collectors, there's one penny from 1976, struck in Denver, that continues to fascinate coin enthusiasts across the country. This is the 1976 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that might seem familiar, yet hides secrets that only careful eyes can uncover. Today, we're going to explore why this modest piece of copper is so intriguing, what makes it special, and why it continues to captivate collectors decades after it was first minted. The Lincoln penny is an American icon. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait. By 1976, the Lincoln penny had been in circulation for over 6 decades, quietly passing from pocket to pocket, yet it still retained its charm and historical significance. The 1976 D Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, and while millions were produced, this particular coin has subtle features and collectible appeal that make it more than just change. The year 1976 was an interesting one for American coins. It was the nation's bicentennial year, celebrating 200 years since the Declaration of Independence. While the Lincoln penny did not receive a special bicentennial design, that distinction went to the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. The 1976 pennies still represent that unique period in American history. Millions of them were minted as everyday currency, making them one of the most common pennies of the era. But as with many coins, sometimes the extraordinary can hide in the ordinary. The 1976 D Lincoln penny carries all the classic features of the Lincoln design. On the front or obverse, you see Abraham Lincoln's profile, facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" above and "Liberty" to his left. The date, 1976, appears just below Lincoln's shoulder, with the small letter D next to it, indicating it was minted in Denver. On the back, the reverse is the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, which has adorned pennies since 1959, celebrating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The coin's composition is simple yet historically important. In 1976, Lincoln pennies were made primarily of copper, with 95% copper and 5% zinc. It wasn't until 1982 that the composition shifted to mostly zinc with a thin copper plating due to rising copper prices. The 1976 D penny has a warm, reddish tone that coin collectors often find appealing. Its weight, size, and feel are consistent with other copper pennies, but there are subtle details that experts look for when assessing its quality and rarity. So, what makes this coin stand out to collectors? At first glance, it might seem like just another 1976 penny, but there are a few unique aspects that draw attention. First, high-grade specimens, those with minimal wear or near-perfect surfaces, are far less common than the millions of circulated coins found in pocket change. Coins that are uncirculated or have proof-like qualities are particularly sought after because they preserve the sharp details of Lincoln's portrait and the intricate lines of the Lincoln Memorial. Errors and variations also play a role in the penny's collectability. While the 1976 D penny did not have major minting errors like some earlier years, experienced collectors know to look for subtle doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering, which can increase a coin's value. Occasionally, pennies from this era may show die cracks or small planchet flaws, imperfections in the metal blank before striking, that can make an otherwise ordinary penny more interesting to collectors. These minor anomalies are often where the thrill of coin collecting lies, in the tiny details that make each coin unique. But how valuable is a 1976 Lincoln penny today? In circulated condition, most of these pennies are worth only their face value. However, high-grade, uncirculated examples can fetch significantly more. For instance, coins graded MS-65, meaning mint state with very few marks, have sold to collectors for anywhere from $5 to $15. Exceptional specimens graded MS-66 or higher can reach $50 or more. Coins with verified errors or unusual characteristics may even attract bids well above these figures, especially if verified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. While these aren't life-changing sums for most, they illustrate how something as small as a penny can become a coveted collectible when quality, rarity, and history intersect. Identifying a genuine 1976 Lincoln penny is straightforward if you know what to look for. The first step is to examine the mint mark. The D should be small and precise, located just below the date. Authentic pennies will have consistent details on Lincoln's face, hair, and coat, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back should display sharp lines and clear lettering. Weighing the coin can also help. A genuine 1976 penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams. Any obvious deviations in color, weight, or lettering may indicate a counterfeit or altered coin, which are rare but exist in the market. Consulting a professional or using magnification can provide additional confidence, especially for higher value coins. There are also some fun and surprising details about the 1976 penny. For example, while it was produced in enormous quantities, many people don't realize that a small percentage of these coins have retained their original red copper sheen, a feature that naturally fades with circulation. Coins with this reddish tone are often labeled as red by collectors and are more desirable than those that have turned brown or dull over time. Additionally, the Lincoln penny of 1976 represents a moment in American history when coinage was transitioning. Just a few years later, rising metal costs would lead to significant changes in composition, making this copper-rich penny a snapshot of a bygone era. Collectors love the 1976 Lincoln penny today for several reasons. Beyond its historical connection and collectible potential, it represents a bridge between ordinary everyday currency and the fascinating world of numismatics. For many, it's an entry point into coin collecting, a coin that is easy to find yet offers lessons in grading, condition, and subtle variations. It also serves as a tangible connection to 1976, a year of national pride and celebration, allowing collectors to hold a small piece of history in their hands. In the end, the 1976 Lincoln penny is much more than a simple 1-cent coin. It's a reminder of Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy, the bicentennial year, and the fascinating stories that ordinary coins can tell. Even though most are found in loose change, a careful eye can uncover a penny that stands out, whether through its color, condition, or minor errors. For collectors, each coin is a chance to own a piece of history, to discover subtle details that may go unnoticed by the casual observer, and to connect with a story that spans more than a century. So, the next time you hold a 1976 Lincoln penny, take a moment to look closely. Examine the D mint mark, notice the reddish copper hue, and appreciate the design that has lasted through generations. Whether it's sitting quietly in your wallet, a coin jar, or a collector's album, it carries the weight of history, the thrill of discovery, and the potential for value that goes far beyond its face. Who knows? That ordinary-looking penny might just be the extraordinary coin you never knew you had. And in the world of coin collecting, that curiosity, the thrill of uncovering hidden stories, never fades. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans have spent, saved, or forgotten about. Yet hidden among them is one that quietly carries a story few know. A coin that could turn a simple pocket change into a piece of history. Today, we're diving into one of those fascinating pieces, the 1987 Lincoln penny. It's ordinary at first glance, Yet it has secrets that make collectors sit up and take notice. By the end of this video, you might be checking your own change with fresh eyes. The 1987 D Lincoln penny is, on the surface, a coin you've likely seen thousands of times. It features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. It was minted in Denver, which is why it carries the small D mint mark below the date. Like all pennies in circulation, it was intended for everyday use, to buy a cup of coffee or a newspaper. But despite its common appearance, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. To understand the significance of the 1987 D penny, we need to travel back a few decades. The Lincoln penny has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1987, the United States Mint had long established its production processes, creating billions of pennies each year. In that year alone, hundreds of millions of coins were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Denver Mint, known for its quality standards, struck coins meant to circulate widely. Yet the 1987 D penny has managed to catch the attention of collectors decades later. One of the reasons this penny is interesting lies in its composition. The 1987 D Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, about 95%, with the remaining 5% composed of zinc. This was before the mint transitioned to primarily zinc-based pennies in the 2000s. Its copper makeup gives it a distinctive reddish-brown color, which can darken over time as it oxidizes. The design, created by Victor David Brenner over 70 years earlier, remains the same. Lincoln's profile facing right, the word Liberty to the left, the date and mint mark below. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stretches across the coin, a tiny representation of the monument that millions visit every year. While the design might seem familiar, collectors are drawn to subtle differences and tiny errors that can appear during the minting process. Errors and variations are part of what makes coins like the 1987 D penny fascinating. While most circulated coins are uniform, the minting process isn't perfect. Some coins were struck off-center, some show double dies, and others carry faint anomalies in the lettering or numbers. For the 1987 D penny, collectors are especially interested in varieties like double dies on the date or mint mark, and certain die cracks that appear along the rim. These small errors can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable collectible, simply because they are unique and rare. So, why is the 1987 D penny considered valuable? It's not because every coin from that year is worth a fortune. Most pennies are still worth face value, or just a few cents in collector terms. But for coins in pristine condition, particularly those that escape circulation and show no wear, the value can rise significantly. A perfect 1987 D penny with a rare minting error can sell for several $100s to the right collector. Even without errors, an uncirculated coin graded at the highest levels can command attention simply because of its age and condition. The rarity isn't just about numbers, it's about survival. Most pennies from 1987 were spent and worn down, leaving only a fraction in collectible condition today. Real-life examples illustrate just how sought after these coins can be. For instance, a 1987 D penny with a double die mint mark sold at auction for over $200, which might not seem staggering until you remember it started as a 1-cent coin. Another coin, in pristine uncirculated condition and with slight die errors, fetched upwards of $500 from an eager collector. These sales show that collectors are willing to pay for the history, rarity, and condition, turning a common penny into a collectible treasure. Identifying a genuine 1987 D penny, especially if it has potential errors, requires careful observation. First, look at the date and mint mark. The D should be crisp and properly aligned under the date. Any doubling or irregularity can be significant. Examine the coin's surface under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Die cracks, raised lines, or doubled features are signs of minting variations that collectors prize. Be wary of coins that appear artificially altered or plated, as these can be misleading. Authenticity is key, and reputable collectors often rely on professional grading to confirm the coin's value. There are some surprising details about the 1987 D penny that make it even more intriguing. For one, it represents the last years before pennies began to shift toward a zinc-heavy composition in 1982 and beyond. This means it carries a nostalgic connection to the older copper coins that many of us remember from our childhoods. Additionally, the penny has a story in every scratch and wear mark, a story of how money travels, changes hands, and survives decades in pockets, wallets, and jars. Some coins even show evidence of polishing or unusual toning, adding layers of history that make them unique. Collectors love the 1987 penny not only for potential monetary gain, but for the deeper connection to American history. It is a tangible link to the late 1980s, a time of cultural change, economic growth, and quiet everyday life. Owning one of these pennies is like holding a small piece of the past. For those who enjoy numismatics, it's an opportunity to study minting processes, spot subtle errors, and appreciate the artistry of coin design. There's a certain thrill in knowing that among millions of ordinary coins, some are quietly extraordinary. The fascination with the 1987 Lincoln penny continues today because it bridges the familiar with the rare. Every pocket of coins could hide a gem, waiting to be discovered. The next time you glance at change, consider this. A single cent could carry a story worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Coins like the 1987 penny remind us that history is all around us, sometimes hiding in plain sight. So, the next time you reach for a penny, take a moment to examine it. You never know when a small, overlooked coin could be a rare treasure from the past. A coin that tells a story far greater than its face value. The 1987 Lincoln penny is more than metal and design. It's a reminder that even the simplest objects can hold extraordinary history, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. And as you continue your coin collecting journey, keep this in mind. Every penny has a story, but only some tell the tales that can change the way we see the past, the present, and the value hidden in the everyday. The 1987 penny may be just one of millions, but for the attentive eye, it can become a rare and valuable link to history, a small object with a big story waiting to be discovered. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that most people walk past every day, barely noticing. But what if I told you that one seemingly ordinary penny from 1991 could be hiding a secret worth thousands to the right collector? A coin that, for decades, quietly slipped into pockets and cash registers, yet today commands attention in the world of rare American coins. This is the story of the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a small piece of copper with a surprisingly intriguing tale. The 1991 Lincoln penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent, is part of a long lineage of pennies honoring Abraham Lincoln. Since 1909, Lincoln pennies have been a staple of American currency, and over the years, certain coins have captured the imagination of collectors, either for errors, rarity, or unique features. The 1991 edition may seem ordinary at first glance, but for those who know what to look for, it carries an extraordinary story. To understand this coin, we need to take a step back. The year 1991 was part of an era when the United States Mint was producing pennies in massive quantities. Philadelphia and Denver were the main mints, each producing billions of coins for everyday circulation. Typically, pennies minted in Philadelphia didn't carry a mint mark, while those from Denver bore a small D on the obverse, near the date. That's where the 1991 no-mint mark penny comes in. On the surface, it looks just like any other Philadelphia penny, but in certain cases, subtle production anomalies make these coins highly desirable to collectors. The penny itself is composed primarily of copper, a metal that has defined Lincoln cents for over a century. The front of the coin, the obverse, features a dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, a design that has remained largely unchanged since its introduction in 1909. The reverse, during 1991, displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design first used in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. To the casual observer, it's a familiar, everyday coin. But within its humble appearance lie unique features that separate ordinary coins from collectible ones. Some 1991 pennies are notable for subtle errors that occurred during the minting process. These include variations in the placement of the date, doubling of the letters, or slight deviations in the strike that produce a coin that looks off to trained eyes. Even a small variation can turn a coin worth mere cents into a collector's item worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The no mint mark variant is particularly fascinating because it represents coins that were struck in Philadelphia, where minting errors were less common than in some other years, making any anomaly that does appear even more sought after. So why is the 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny considered rare or valuable? The answer lies in scarcity combined with collector interest. Unlike older Lincoln pennies from the early 1900s, which are rare simply because of age, the 1991 no mint mark penny is valuable when it exhibits specific minting anomalies. These errors are not widely known, so many of these coins remain in circulation, unnoticed in jars, drawers, or loose change. For collectors who specialize in modern coins, spotting one of these anomalies is like finding a hidden gem. To illustrate the coin's value, consider recent auction examples. Coins with slight doubling on the date or letters have sold for several $100s, while more pronounced errors, such as off-center strikes or die cracks, have fetched well over $1,000 in certified auctions. Even among modern pennies, where millions were minted, the right error can create a dramatic increase in value. For a collector, finding a 1991 no mint mark penny with a visible anomaly can be a thrilling discovery, and a profitable one. Identifying a genuine 1991 no mint mark penny is not as difficult as it might seem, but it does require careful attention. Start by examining the date carefully. Look for any doubling or irregularities in the numbers. Check the surface of the coin for die cracks, unusual marks, or imperfections that seem consistent with minting rather than wear and tear. The edge of the coin should be uniform, and the weight should match a standard penny, 3.11 grams for those made before 1982, slightly less for newer copper-plated zinc pennies. For serious collectors, using a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe is essential, as the differences can be subtle but significant. There are also fun and surprising details about this coin that make it worth a closer look. For example, 1991 was part of a transitional period for Lincoln pennies. The early 1990s saw changes in die production techniques, which sometimes resulted in minor errors that were later corrected. This makes coins from this period interesting from a historical perspective, not just for their potential market value. Additionally, some collectors enjoy hunting for unlisted errors, variations not formally documented in coin catalogs, which adds an element of excitement and mystery to every jar of pennies. Collectors today love the 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny for many reasons. It represents a piece of everyday American history, yet it carries the thrill of discovery. Unlike older, extremely rare coins that require significant investment, this coin is accessible to most collectors, making it a popular choice for those building modern penny collections. Its story bridges ordinary circulation coins with the specialized world of numismatics, where even the smallest differences can tell fascinating stories about production, design, and chance. Even casual coin enthusiasts find the 1991 no mint mark penny compelling. It's a reminder that sometimes history is hiding in plain sight. A single coin, passed from hand to hand, carries stories of the people who used it, the mint workers who struck it, and the collectors who now treasure it. It's a tangible connection to the past, a reminder that value is not always measured in dollars but in curiosity, discovery, and the thrill of the hunt. So, next time you come across a penny from 1991 with no mint mark, take a moment to examine it closely. What seems ordinary might just be extraordinary. Could it be a subtle error waiting to be discovered, or even a hidden gem destined for a collector's showcase? The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny may look like a coin you pass by every day, but in the right hands, it holds a story, a mystery, and a value far beyond its small size. Every coin tells a story, and this one reminds us that treasures can often be found where we least expect them. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about history, the 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than spare change. It's a small piece of American heritage, a puzzle for collectors, and a reminder that sometimes the ordinary holds the extraordinary. Keep your eyes open because the next coin you hold might just be the one that changes everything. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of people pass by every day without a second thought, yet for a few collectors it could be worth thousands of dollars. One coin in particular, the 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, has quietly captured the attention of numismatists and casual collectors alike. It's a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but beneath its copper surface lies a story of rarity, mystery, and potential fortune. If you've ever wondered whether a coin from your change could be more than just a penny, this story might just change the way you look at your loose change forever. The 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a 1-cent coin produced in the United States, part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. Most pennies carry a small letter near the date on the obverse side, indicating the U.S. Mint facility where they were struck. Philadelphia, for example, traditionally produced coins without a mint mark in recent decades, while Denver coins bear a D and San Francisco coins an S. But the 1995 no-mint mark penny has attracted attention not simply because of where it was minted, but because of its scarcity in certain forms and its potential value among collectors. To understand why this coin exists, we need to look back at the mid-1990s. In 1995, the United States was celebrating a period of economic growth and stability, and the penny remained an essential part of everyday transactions. The Lincoln cent, designed by Victor David Brenner and first released in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, had undergone minor changes over the decades. By the 1990s, the obverse featured Lincoln's portrait, still the iconic design, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 for Lincoln's 150th birthday. Millions of these coins were produced, yet the no-mint mark variation, when found in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, can become a hidden gem in a collector's cabinet. The 1995 penny is made primarily of copper with small amounts of zinc, a composition standard for pennies struck before 2000. Its coppery hue is familiar, yet subtle differences in color and texture can reveal its journey. More importantly, the 1995 no-mint mark penny sometimes appears with small errors or variations that make it particularly interesting to collectors. These can include double strikes, die cracks, or minor irregularities in the lettering. While these flaws may seem like imperfections, in the world of coin collecting, they often add to a coin's rarity and desirability. A penny that looks like every other coin in your pocket could, in fact, carry a hidden story written in tiny details only noticeable under magnification. So why exactly is this coin rare or valuable? Unlike coins that are deliberately limited in production, the 1995 no-mint mark penny is primarily valued because certain high-quality specimens survived decades of circulation. Most pennies are spent and lost, bent, scratched, or worn beyond recognition. Finding one that retains its original luster, free from the marks of everyday use, is uncommon. This is particularly true for coins that were never distributed in large collector sets. When these pristine coins do appear, collectors are willing to pay a premium. In some cases, a single penny can fetch several $100s, especially if it exhibits exceptional quality or minor errors that make it unique. Auction results give us a real glimpse into the coin's value. For instance, coins graded as mint state 65 or higher, meaning they are nearly perfect and uncirculated, have been known to sell for hundreds of dollars at reputable numismatic auctions. In one notable case, a 1995 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition sold online for over $400, a staggering amount for a coin that, at face value, is just 1 cent. Even lower-grade examples can attract attention from collectors who seek to complete their Lincoln cent collections. The market for these pennies is surprisingly active, and knowledgeable collectors often scour coin rolls, estate sales, and even spare change in hopes of finding the next valuable specimen. Identifying a genuine 1995 no-mint mark penny is not difficult, but it does require careful observation. Genuine coins have a consistent weight, thickness, and diameter, and the details of Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial are sharp, not blurry. The absence of a mint mark is another key indicator, but it is important to be wary of counterfeit coins or altered examples. Professional grading services can provide authentication and a condition grade, ensuring that a coin's value is both legitimate and verifiable. Collectors often use magnifying tools to inspect the finer details, looking for die marks, doubling, or other unique features that enhance the coin's rarity. There are also some surprising and fun details about the 1995 penny that make it fascinating beyond its monetary value. For example, this coin represents a moment in American history when pennies were still widely used in daily transactions, yet just a few years later, digital payments would begin to shift the economy away from coins. It also continues a legacy that stretches back more than a century, connecting today's collectors with generations who have touched the same design. The Lincoln cent, with its simple yet enduring imagery, is a reminder of history preserved in metal. Some collectors even take pride in finding a 1995 penny that remains shiny and smooth, as if it had just been struck from the mint, untouched by human hands for decades. Collectors love the 1995 no-mint mark penny not only for its potential monetary value but also for the thrill of discovery. Holding a coin that might be rare, even slightly, brings a sense of connection to history and a hint of excitement similar to finding a hidden treasure. Every small detail, from the curve of Lincoln's cheek to the tiny lettering on the reverse, tells a story of craftsmanship, preservation, and chance. For those who collect coins, each penny becomes more than metal. It becomes a link to the past, a collectible object, and in some cases, an investment. The 1995 no-mint mark penny is a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry significance, intrigue, and beauty. So, if you happen to come across a 1995 penny without a mint mark, take a moment to examine it. Look closely at the details, compare it to other pennies from the same year, and consider having it evaluated by a professional. You might just discover that what seems like an ordinary piece of change is actually a rare glimpse into American history, or even a coin that could surprise you with its market value. The story of the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a story of hidden potential, of treasures hiding in plain sight, and of the enduring fascination humans have with the small, carefully crafted objects that pass through countless hands yet hold the power to captivate generations. Every coin has a story, and the 1995 no-mint mark penny is no exception. Its ordinary appearance masks a history, a rarity, and a mystery that draws collectors, historians, and everyday people alike. Could the next coin in your pocket be worth more than you think? The answer may be closer than you realize, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a love for discovery to uncover it. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that it passes through thousands of hands every day, yet hiding a story that could make it a treasure worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. The 2002 Lincoln penny is one of those coins. At first glance, it looks just like the pennies in your pocket. But for collectors, this small copper-plated disc holds secrets that make it remarkable, intriguing, and in some cases, highly sought after. Today, we're going to uncover the history, the unique features, and the surprising value of the 2002 Lincoln penny. The penny you're looking at is officially known as the 2002 Lincoln cent. D stands for the Denver Mint, one of the U.S. Mint's production facilities. This coin features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front, with the word Liberty to his left and the date 2002 to his right. On the reverse, it bears the Union Shield design, which was introduced just a few years earlier in 2000. For most people, it's just another penny in circulation. But for collectors and numismatists, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Let's start with a little history. Abraham Lincoln has appeared on the U.S. 1-cent coin since 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of his birth. Over the decades, the design has evolved, but Lincoln has remained a constant. The 2002 penny was minted during a time of significant transition for the Lincoln cent. The U.S. Mint was experimenting with new compositions and designs, trying to make coins more durable and cost-effective. While the composition of the penny in 2002 remained primarily copper-plated zinc, weighing just under 3 grams, subtle variations in production can make some of these coins highly collectible today. One of the most interesting features of the 2002 penny is its reverse design. Instead of the Lincoln Memorial, which had been on the back since 1959, this penny features a Union Shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar at the top. This design was meant to symbolize the preservation of the United States as a single, unified country. The shield is simple yet striking, and for collectors, the combination of the design and the mint mark can create rare variations. Some 2002 pennies are particularly valued not just for their design, but for subtle errors that occurred during production. One of the more famous errors includes double die obverse, where the date or the word Liberty appears slightly doubled. Other errors include off-center strikes, weak strikes, or even die cracks. While many of these errors are subtle and easy to miss, for collectors they can dramatically increase the coin's value. A standard 2002 penny in circulated condition might be worth just its face value, but an error coin in pristine condition can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction. So why is this coin considered rare? The key lies in its errors and its condition. Unlike coins from earlier centuries, the 2002 penny was minted in large quantities. Over 1 billion coins were produced. However, production errors, which occurred only in a tiny fraction of the coins, are what make certain examples unique. For instance, a double-die obverse penny from 2002 is extremely scarce, and collectors actively seek these coins because the errors are permanent and cannot be reproduced. Additionally, pennies that are in uncirculated condition or have never been touched by human hands are also rare. Even small scratches or discoloration can reduce a coin's value, which makes pristine 2002 pennies a prize for collectors. To give you an idea of real-world value, a standard 2002 penny in circulated condition is worth about 1 cent. But if you find one with a notable error in uncirculated condition, the value can jump dramatically. At recent auctions, 2002 double-die pennies have sold for several $100s, sometimes even exceeding $1,000 if the coin is flawless. Collectors frequently scour rolls of pennies, looking for these rare gems, and when one turns up, it can become a headline in the numismatic community. Identifying a real 2002 penny versus a counterfeit or altered coin requires a careful eye. Start by examining the mint mark. The D should be sharply defined, not blurred or inconsistent. Next, check for unusual doubling on the date or lettering, off-center strikes, or irregularities in the metal. The coin should feel right in weight and composition. A genuine 2002 penny is mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. If you're serious about collecting, it's worth investing in a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and consulting trusted numismatic guides. Professional grading services can also authenticate a coin and determine its grade, which has a huge impact on value. There are some surprising facts about the 2002 penny that many people don't know. For example, despite being a modern coin, it can be highly collectible because of production quirks that are almost accidental. Also, the Union Shield on the reverse was the first time in decades that the back of the penny moved away from the Lincoln Memorial, marking a subtle but meaningful shift in coin design. And while we often think of rare coins as being centuries old, modern coins like this one show that rarity can exist even in everyday items we take for granted. Collectors love the 2002 penny for a few reasons. First, it's a chance to own a piece of modern American history, a coin that is both familiar and unique. Second, the possibility of finding an error coin adds a treasure-hunting thrill. Unlike old coins that require digging through drawers or estate sales, 2002 pennies are still out there in circulation, waiting to be discovered. Finally, for some collectors, these coins are a reminder of the artistry and precision involved in minting money, a small object that connects us to history in a tangible way. In the end, the 2002 Lincoln penny is more than just a 1-cent coin. It's a symbol of American history, a modern collectible, and a potential treasure hiding in plain sight. The next time you come across a 2002 penny in a pocket, a jar, or a drawer, take a closer look. You might be holding a coin with an extraordinary story, a coin that could surprise even the most seasoned collectors. The world of coins is full of hidden gems, and the 2002 Lincoln penny is proof that sometimes the most ordinary objects carry the most remarkable secrets. So, keep your eyes open, examine your pennies carefully, and remember, even the smallest coin can hold a world of history, value, and mystery. Who knows? That ordinary-looking 2002 Lincoln penny might just be the key to a discovery you'll never forget.